Welcome everyone to another episode of Tutorial Tuesday. It's week 24, 2020. Thank you for tuning in and thank you for your participation. I have a couple of announcements and then we'll get right into your questions. So with that, announcement number one. Over the last several weeks, I've been uploading my previous Tutorial Tuesdays to my YouTube account, but unfortunately that was my personal account. And of course, there's no convenient way to transfer the videos between your personal account and your business account. So I'm going to be playing catch up with my YouTube videos. So be patient while I do that, and I'll announce them on my story as I go along. Announcement number two. Joe and I did start an episode of the Small Business Roundup, and that will be released this Thursday at 9 a.m. You'll want to tune in to that because we take on the topic of social media with small business. So look forward to that. Let's get into your questions. Okay, this first question comes in from Tanya. Thank you for submitting this. She would like to get into Western photography and wants my recommendation on equipment. The first thing that comes to mind when I read your question is ranch life is a dirty business, especially on equipment. So knowing that, using the equipment that I have, I use a 5D Mark III and a 5D Mark IV along with the L series lenses. And one of the reasons that I do that is because the weather sealing on these pieces of equipment is better than what you would find in a kit camera, say from Costco or Walmart. Now, my recommendation would be either look at used professional grade equipment from a place like keh.com, which has budget-friendly options, or you can go out and buy brand new equipment, which of course is going to be more expensive. And you can also look at those kit cameras and just know that ahead of time those kit cameras aren't going to come with the weather sealing that the professional grade equipment does come with. So take those into consideration, and also with the anticipated upcoming release of Canon's R5 mirrorless camera, you could probably get into the original EOS R at a decent price pretty soon. Okay, this next question comes in from Amber. Thank you so much. What are some of the mistakes that I see you newbies doing when you're taking shots? And I wouldn't consider it mistakes because we're all on a learning curve and we're all on our own photographic journey, but there are certain things that I think we can improve on, and there are four things that I'll talk about. The first thing is this: you're responsible for everything in that frame. In other words, what that means is composing and deliberately creating an image starts with you looking through that viewfinder and asking yourself the following questions. The second thing I would say is focus on your subject. So if you have a whole scene in front of you, what is your subject? Is it the whole scene? Is it the rider? Is it the horse? Focus on your subject. And number three, draw attention to your subject. You can do that by use of selective focus, by color, by contrast, by light, by composition. Those are just a few off the top of my head that I would recommend when you want to try and do your, well, not try, but do your best to draw attention to your subject. And finally, number four, reduce distractions from your subject. This goes back to number one, which is you're responsible for everything in that frame. But reducing distractions can come down to this. When you put the viewfinder up to your eye and you're looking at your subject, is there anything that's distracting? In other words, is there a bright spot that you can control that takes attention away from your subject? Or could you perhaps change your composition or perspective and help draw that attention back to your subject by, again, reducing those distractions? All right, next question comes from K-Doll Camera Captures out in South Dakota. Thank you for this question. Do I have any images that I don't post for fear of them getting ripped off on the internet? Great question. The short answer to this is no, absolutely I don't. Everything that I publish on my page or other people publish as a result of being at a branding or bridals, engagements, weddings, anything like that, I know once it goes on the internet that there's very little that you can do, especially as a small business owner. Now, I've spoken at great lengths about protecting your images, using Instagram and their complaint form and things like that. So let me go ahead and tag those, or give you the link. Go ahead and swipe over. You can read what I've written about this. You can also see the conversation between myself and my attorney. This right here is a really good question, and I think that it speaks to the times that we're in right now, because we're so socially connected in everything that we do. So Sarah, thank you for asking this. And let me be clear about what this means to me. When Sarah's asking, when did I stop giving a shit what people thought? What that means to me is, when I post a picture on the internet, I'm not posting it because I want to get likes on it, or because I'm hoping that it'll go viral or anything like that. I post images because I enjoy them. That's it. I don't care if somebody else doesn't like it. I post it because I like it. Now, there's also another part of this, which is, for me in photography, I stopped giving a crap about what people thought about my photography when I left the group mentality of photography. That's when when I left the structured group mentality, that's when I started listening to my own voice, developing my own creativity, and following my own instincts without feeling like I had to live up to someone else's standards or someone else telling me how my image should look. There are things that we're bound by in photography. The technical limitations of many cameras are shared among everybody that uses them. It's how we use them. It's how we listen to our own voice, and you get comfortable with that. And I'm comfortable enough to say that I don't give a shit what other people think of my images. I post them because I like them. Great question, Melanie. Thank you for asking it. What is white balance, and how do we choose what to shoot in? So first, white balance, I'm going to really oversimplify here, but it's deciding on whether or not we want a warmer image or a cooler image. When it comes to skin tones, it's probably more important because we want to render those skin tones as they are. We don't want to show skin tones that are purple or some kind of crazy color because our white balance is off. And typically that'll come from taking a family out to a park, putting them in shade, and not doing anything with your white balance and just leaving it up to the camera, and then you end up with this crazy mix of colors on your subject. So how do we choose? That's the second part of this. Now that I've greatly oversimplified white balance, what I can tell you is each one of our cameras come with built-in presets based on different lighting conditions that you're going to find yourself in. For example, there's a cloudy preset that has a little picture of a cloud. It's going to be a warmer styled image or a warmer colored image. There's also a shade preset. There's a tungsten preset for lights inside of a house. There's fluorescent preset if you find yourself in an office or something. There's presets built in to help you get the best and most accurate colors out of your image. Let's talk about some specific ones to the Western lifestyle. Now, the scenarios that I find myself in the Western world, one of those is outbranding, right? Where we have a bright, sunny, no clouds in the sky day. I'm going to be on a cloudy white balance. And maybe we're at a branding, or we're in fall or something like that where we have heavy clouds. I'm still going to be in a cloudy white balance. However, that will change when I go to a ranch rodeo or something like that, where if you want to lessen in crappy lighting, just go into any arena and try and take pictures. What we have to do in those scenarios is change our white balance. I go in and I choose a custom white balance where I actually dial in the temperature to something like 3200 degrees Kelvin. That pretty much matches the lighting scenario that I find myself in, especially in those arenas. And now to add the final 15-second wrap-up on white balance. If you're shooting in RAW, meaning the unprocessed image that your camera takes, arguably you could choose your own white balance setting in editing. This is something that we'll all be faced with regardless of whether or not you do this for a living. And the best piece of advice that I can give you is apply your hand to the camera and go out and create images. Whether that is taking pictures of dirt, dogs or dust, whatever it is, go create it. If you want to get inspiration from other places, I would recommend looking at books from the library when the libraries are open. Look at the old paintings from the old masters. Look at the light that they use. Try and be inspired by those and go create something. That is the best piece of advice that I can give you. Just go create.